Welcome to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm Keff Ciardello here with Mike Orakpo. We're doing an impromptu remote session this time. Bobcats got a big win, so for episode 9, we couldn't schedule each other next to each other this time, but we had to talk about it right away. Isn't that right, Mike?
Had to. It was a big win, huge win for the Bobcats, much needed win for this program, man. I'm excited. I was so excited about that dub we got, man.
Gosh, if anybody needed a triple overtime win at home, it was this Texas State fan base, that's for sure. I mean, what a game it was. I don't even know where to start with it. I think the biggest place we should start is the rushing game, because you and I have been talking about they need to get this rushing offense started. I mean, we've been beating that drum for a while, and boy, did they. I mean, they had 50 rushes to 25 passes. I mean, so much for the air raid. It was more like a ground raid that last game. It was crazy. It was crazy how many rushing attempts they had. What did you like what you saw from the offensive line in that run game?
I love it. I love the fact that we were intentional with it. It was very intentional. We came into the game, and you knew from the moment we started to run the ball, we were trying to improve the run game, and that's what we did just that. I like the fact that when we found out that they couldn't stop the run, we didn't abandon it. Okay, so that's one thing I did like from that aspect of the play calling was when we found out that those Georgia State D-line couldn't handle our rushing and our ground attack, we kept on putting the pressure on them, and it's something that it panned out for us at the end.
Absolutely. And it obviously was intentional. I mean, they said so after the game. Spavital, when he was asked about the rushing attack, he said the past 4 or 5 days in practice, they had decided we're going to commit to the run in this one. And they really did. I got stats right here in my hand. As a team, yeah.
Tell us what those stats looking like, Keff. Where we at with the stats?
They had 221 yards rushing. Going into the game, they had 77 in the first 3 games, and they had 221 as a unit there. I mean, Caleb Twyford, guy you've been talking a lot about all fall camp, all practice.
My God. That was one of my guys, man.
27 carries for 137 yards. I mean, just exploded onto the scene.
Not surprised. I'm not at all surprised. Yeah, Twyford can run that football.
Yeah, he definitely can. He seems like he's their best back. I like that they still fit in Anthony Taylor in there. He's a really good third down, maybe red zone type back because he's a little bit more of a battering ram. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Twyford was real impressive. I mean, I kind of question. I'm like, is he an every down back? Is he more of an out of the backfield, take a pass type of back? But he really proved that he could be that bell cow this past game. So real impressive stuff from him. Even Gresh Jensen had 30 yards rushing. 22-yard rush helped him out there. But I mean, everybody seemed to get into the rush attack this game. But yeah, good stuff there for sure. And then the passing game, no turnovers. That's a big deal. I mean, they've had tons of turnovers the first few games. So I mean, that was a big deal. I mean, cutting it from over 50 passes in some of the games to 25 passes this last one. I mean, that's kind of crazy. It was 2 rushes to 1 pass this past game. I mean, and they came into it. They wanted to simplify the offense. They wanted to take the pressure off the quarterback position, and they really did it this past week.
I agree. Like I said, it was intentional. Coach Spaff talked about it through the week that they wanted to improve on the ground game, and they went into that game and they did just that. I love the fact that we talked about it, man. I don't know. I feel like some people are watching this show. No, I'm just kidding. But we did talk about it. Georgia State has a weaker defense, and it was one of those games where I feel like we'll be able to take advantage of that. We'll be able to have more success out of our offense on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what happened. My game prediction was 31-28. Us winning by 3 points. So it was fairly close. We ended up winning by 3 points. That was our first, W of the season, first dub on the Coach Spaff. So I think it's a huge statement in, this new era of this Texas State football team.
Absolutely. And this is the type of win that you can really take and take the momentum on for the rest of the season. I mean, this is a big win. I mean, it could go both ways on that. It can either cause momentum or they could have that hangover. So it'll be telling us how they bounce back after this win. But right now in this moment, they needed that one. 0-3, and this fan base really needed something to energize them with that win. You know, going back to the game, right before regulation with that spike, I looked at it. I thought that looked like that ball hit the ground with zeros on the clock. What did you see? Did you see that on your end at all?
I will say that this was the first time that I publicly said anything about – because I've never – even as a player, I wasn't that guy because, you know, I get it when the fans blame the refs after the game. I get it, you know. But as a player, even me, personally, when I was playing – you go back a lot of the times and you watch film and you're like, man, even though the ref at that point of time changed the outcome or could have changed how the game went, you know, you look at so many different things that we could have done to change the outcome of that game, of whatever it was at that particular time. But I mean, my God, these Sunbelt refs, I can't give them anything. I mean, they have been horrific. Keff, these Sunbelt refs has been horrible. So it's crazy. It was 0-0 when he spiked the ball. There's no way you go back and review it and you put a second on the clock. In such a crucial point of that game, anything that's that close, you have to go with whatever the call was. So the Sunbelt was absolutely wrong on that call. It could have costed us the game. I think the football gods had already said that this was going to be a W for us. And as you can see what happened on the game, but that was ridiculous, man. I mean, I would like to see the Sunbelt, you know, come out and issue an apology to Texas State, even though it won't mean anything for us. But I would like to see that because, I mean, those are calls that you just can't miss.
I'm absolutely with you. I mean, that was a huge play call, huge moment in the game, and they, as far as I felt, it didn't feel like they followed the spirit of the review. If you can't confirm it, you call it as it stands, and as it stood, that spike wasn't in time. It was with zeros. Now, from what I heard, they had two angles on the spike, and the refs actually had to call in to the headquarters in Mobile, Alabama, because they used the same referee official review area as the SEC. Yeah, in Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't.
Yeah. It's something new they did the past 2 years that they combined that effort with SEC, and the refs actually had to call in there and say, what do we do? On one of the replays, we have the ball hitting the ground with 1/10 of a second left, and then on the other replay, they had zeros, and apparently those officials in Alabama told them if you have any angle with any time on the clock, you got to give them 1 second left. So that was the ruling that they called into Alabama. Whether or not I feel like those guys in Alabama got it right, I don't think so. I mean, you look at those replays, that ball's hitting the ground with double zeros on the clock. That game should have been over there. Any other game, that's over. But it is about refs.
Yeah, I hate to say – go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You know, because it was the first Sun Belt game of the season where it was actually Sun Belt refs with Georgia State, Texas State. So those were those guys, and we're back with the Sun Belt refs already feeling it after the first game.
Yeah, I don't know. The Sun Belt, it seems to me like I get it. Okay, Georgia State, they upset Tennessee. You know, Sun Belt wants these guys to be one of their teams now to be at the top of the conference. You know, a lot of the times when you have teams that are not doing as well, like a Texas State team in the past, you know, it's just been a 2, 3, 4 win kind of program for the past couple of years. Those are the teams that you typically don't want to knock off teams like Georgia State, who just coming off of a huge win against Tennessee. So I just feel like it's been a little bias with these refs now going on, you know, even a couple of years now. I don't know what is up with them against this Bobcat team, but, you know, they need to fix it, you know, because we're going to be getting some more W's here, whether they like it or not. So They need to come on aboard of this Bobcat train because it's taking off. It's taking off definitely.
Conspiracy theorist Mike Orakpo. I love it. You think they're out to get the
come
Bobcats?
on, man. It's the same way. College football does it the same way. You know, they don't want that number, that Alabama or whatever team getting knocked off by, Alcorn State. You think that they really want that to happen? Absolutely not. It's going to lose money.
I feel like you see it in the NFL too with the Patriots a little bit. They want the big names to get out there and still win. But I mean, I'll wear a tinfoil hat with you and be a conspiracy theorist. Everyone's against our Bobcats, Mike. Let's watch out for them.
Man, I'm getting and I never complain about the refs, but I mean, I am getting sick and tired of. I mean, you look at the previous game and you have the missed field goal. I don't know who was the head of that crew. Of the made field goal when it was clear as day. But I mean, I don't know who's the head of these crews and who's got it out for our football team. But I mean, they need to get it together, man.
Yeah, but it's like you said though, the football gods were in the Bobcats' favor. So even if the refs didn't want the Texas State to get it, they still pulled it out, and it was crazy. Right. I mean, because we talked about the end of regulation. Bobcats are up by 3. They give them 1 second when they shouldn't have. Although, an interesting aspect that isn't getting talked about a lot is that play right before the spike. Right. Ishmael Davis got a really nice TFL. I think it was a TFL. I know he made a nice tackle that. Yeah,
I believe it was a TFL. It happened right before the spike. Yeah.
They had to rush to the ball, and he got up and was celebrating. Some of the other guys on defense were celebrating, and then they noticed, oh, wait, there's still more time, and they're running to it. And you see Ish Davis, he's like, 10 yards behind the line when they run up to spike it, and he almost gets he almost got a penalty, ran across, he jumped over the line to get up there and line up in time. So, I mean, almost a big mistake that he made up for. Pretty athletic play jumping over the line.
But is it a mistake because – now, I'm not 100% on this rule. This is one rule that I'm not 100% on. But if I'm not mistaken, when there's a new play that's forming, you have to give guys time to, number one, if you make a sub, you have to give the opposite team enough time to get their sub in. Also, if the chains are moving or if there's ball movement or something like that, to my understanding, I assume that you have to give the defense time to at least run to the ball. I saw their guys running up to the ball, and our guys like 4 or 5 yards away from trying to run just across the line of scrimmage just to get lined up. Like the Sunbelt refs should not have placed the ball down that soon. There's no way. I understand you giving those guys a chance to win the game, but how can you place the ball down to be live that quick? I mean, the play, I don't know what – we have to probably check the rule on that. And, one of these guys after the podcast can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the refs have to give the defense enough time in between plays. You can't just place the ball down and then they can, hike the ball and then it'll be offsides or something like that.
Yeah, I know on first downs they stop the clock and you do have to give – everyone has time to line up and everything. But because the one was the TFL or at least it was a tackle that wasn't past the chains, they were able – they were hurrying up, so they set it down pretty quick. I don't think it was anything malicious like they were trying to prevent them or anything. That wasn't the point of it. It was more of almost a mistake that turned into a really good play by Ish Davis because he did get back in time. Otherwise, he would have got flagged. If they had gotten a first down, they would have had to give them more time because then everybody's moving more forward.
After first downs. Yeah, I know it's after first downs for sure. So just after first down. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that was fine. How quick the refs put it down because if you flip that and it's Texas State and they need to get to the ball quick. You want the refs doing the same thing. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. I just thought it's funny if you go back and watch the replay how he hurdles both the offensive line. He hurdles it to get on the other side and line up. He got over there real quick. And otherwise,
that was crazy.
It was crazy. It was a crazy deal. Crazy. But, yeah, so they make that field goal, go into overtime. Georgia State gets the ball first. They get a touchdown. Texas State, they answer with a touchdown, but they almost messed it up. I don't know if you remember. It was I think it was a third or fourth down that they got a pass interference call. They got bailed out big time because the game would have been over. And then they moved Texas State up closer. Gresh Jensen scores. I mean, second overtime, probably the craziest deal of any of the overtimes is Brandon Wright, the kicker that we hyped up. You remember hyping him up. We talked all about their kicker. He's automatic. He's going to make all these field goals. He starts out missing that thing. It was the 40-yarder that he missed in the second overtime. I mean, did you think he was going to miss that? I couldn't believe he missed that field goal.
It's crazy because, again, not to boast us up or anything, but I mean, we said it was going to come down to their kicker. Their kicker may be, a huge player for their kicker may be a game changer for them. And it was literally the ball was, in his court, so to speak. So he missed the field goal. I would say I was definitely surprised at that. I was just like, here comes another. Like this is another winnable game. Like I was just like I was just hoping. He misses the field goal, which is uncharacteristic. Like I said, the football guys was on our favor. I mean, we were supposed to win that game. And there was nothing that anybody was going to be able to do about it.
Yeah, because that field goal that he missed, because, Rowland missed one too. He missed a 43-yarder, but he made some earlier in the game. Texas State's kicker, Rowland, that is. And the one that Brandon Wright missed, towards the end of the game, they bring all the media out of the press box and we're all on the sideline. So I got to see all the overtimes right underneath the goal that they were kicking on. And I thought for sure he was going to make it 45 yards. That's what that was, one in second overtime. I thought for sure he was going to nail it. And not only did he miss, but he came up short. The guy with one of the strongest legs in the country, and that ball didn't even make it to that upright. And I as soon as I saw him miss that field goal and went into a triple overtime, I mentally knew. I was like, this is the Bobcats game. This is it right here. They're going to take this in triple overtime. And then he had to have been mentally shook from that, Brandon Wright, because then he goes and missed a 35-yarder. Not even totally makeable. He went wide with that one. I mean, absolutely. It's hard to even – the Bobcats could have lost in so many ways and also could have won in so many ways. It's crazy. It's crazy that it ended up being Brandon Wright missing 2 field goals in overtime for it to go Texas State's way, but here we are. It's a new era, the Spavital era, getting dubbed number 1. It's good times in Bobcat land.
And these are the kind of games that good teams somehow find a way to win.
Absolutely.
Historically, you look back at the last couple of years, these are those kind of games where we somehow find a way to lose. So it just lets me know and lets me be confident to know that we are headed in the right direction, because you look at the past 2-3 years, Texas State would have somehow found a way to lose this game, and instead with this new staff, this new era, we found a way to win this ball game. And I love it. I love where we're headed. I love that, we're finding ways now to whatever you have to do, find a way to win. Whatever it is, find a way.
Fighting tooth and claw, and they sure did. They gutted out that win. I mean, there's a lot of heroes in that game too. You have Joshua Rowland hitting those field goals, of course. But I mean, how about Brian London's day? I mean, 22 tackles. He tied your boy David Mayo for that record, most tackles in a game. He got his first career sack too. I mean, he was all over the place. It was great. And and we didn't talk about it much because I didn't know this until right before the game. Frankie Griffin didn't play. We saw him.
Yeah, he was suited up on the sideline. I mean, he was in his street clothes on the sideline.
Right. So Clifton Lewis Jr. got the start because Gavin Graham's out also. We've been talking about how deep the outside linebacker spot is, and now they had 4 really good guys. Now they're down to 2. I mean, but Clifton Lewis got the start. Hal Vinson was splitting time in there as well, but it was mainly Clifton Lewis there, and he got 10 tackles himself. So I mean, he was right up there with it. So really good performance from him. And we knew he was always a really strong player, him and Hal Vinson. It's hard to break through that lineup and get in there. But a great defensive game. They gave up 34 points, but still, I mean, Morris with his interception, the fumble recoveries. I mean, it was fantastic performance by the defense in this game. To take Dan Ellington, who's one of the better quarterbacks in the Sun Belt, and hold him back a little bit. I mean, he had a few touchdown passes, but he wasn't able to exert his will in the run game and all of that. Just a great gritty performance by that team. In a long game too, they had to be tired. But
agreed.
You liked what you saw. What did you any notes from the defense that you saw that really stuck out to you? Got a lot of pressure in the line too. It felt like really got up.
Yeah. No, man, we had some good performances from our guys that normally, to come and perform. I mean, I saw, obviously Belo was just about everywhere on the football field. I mean, there was not a clip you could see where you didn't see Nine somewhere in there. So, he had a spectacular game. Ish seemed like he had a pretty good game. I saw him getting a lot of pressures in the backfield.
He always does. He's an underrated guy, Ish Davis.
I'm going to continue talking about him because I feel like he's not getting a lot of the love that he's supposed to get. I don't know how he's doing in the stat game. We might want to check his stats and see where he's at through 4 games now. But it's just having himself a good season. Nick Daniels on that big fumble recovery there that he got. I mean, another guy. Look, thing I love about Nick is how quick he just has that quick twitch. He knows how to fill holes very, very fast. So I thought he had a solid game. I'm not sure what his ending stats were, but just looking at that Bobcat defense, same thing. Front 7 held it down. I think the DBs didn't have a terrible day. I would love to see our DBs start playing the ball more. I think that we still have room for improvement in the secondary. Not that we had a terrible game there, but some of those balls you want to start getting contested by our DBs now. We kind of get caught out of phase a little bit sometimes because we're in phase. Actually, we're not even out of phase. We're in phase. We're just not making plays on the ball. And when you're a DB and you're covering that receiver, you can be in perfect phase, perfect position, but if you don't turn your head and try to play that ball, there's going to be a PI all day. And sometimes we got caught up just playing that receiver's eyes a couple of times. So that's something that we definitely got to improve on the back end.
I noticed that too, and specifically with the DBs, it was Cambrel Winters started. I'm pretty sure that was his first start. He's a true freshman. Was highly recruited by Houston. Even committed to him at one point. Chose Texas State. Big corner, big guy. But he did have issues getting turned around, like you were saying, just putting his hands up and hoping he could block a potential pass that's coming in. And so I think with that true freshman getting in there, it did allow them to allow Georgia State to get some leeway there. I know Dan Ellington, he had 219 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. We had the one pick from Jerron Morris real early. But besides that, he was getting a little bit of leeway. The DBs as a whole right now, they're second in the Sun Belt in total defense. But I think that statistic is a little bit facetious just because they played a lot of rush-heavy offenses the first few games. So that's a big reason why they're only holding teams to 200. And I can't believe this. They lead the Sun Belt with 5 interceptions too, the DBs. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Who would have thought that? I mean, it was just a couple years ago, Texas State finished as the only FBS team to not have any interceptions. They had 0 for the whole 12 games, and through 4 they have 5. So that's a pretty good sign there from those DBs. But they are young. You have the elder statesmen in the front 7, but those DBs, they're young, super talented, but young. And I think that goes to what you were seeing, where they were probably struggling just a little bit out there. But overall,
overall with that Bobcat defense, though, I mean, they're playing some good defense. We're playing some good defense on all areas of that Bobcat. that Bobcat defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep it up, keep that momentum rolling. If we're getting some interceptions, we're getting turnovers. You always want to see that out of your defensive unit.
I think a big challenge for the defense, though, is going to be keeping opponents scoring down. I mean, trying to hold someone under 20 points for a game. They allow, they do a great job, but they bend until they break, and they just need to hold steady and not get too much bend and keep teams out of the end zone, because they really get torched on third down. That's an issue with the defense, but.
Third down efficiency. You got to improve on that.
Yeah, because they'll do great first, second down, great, but then bam, other teams will just pick it up on third down. So that's something to watch out for.
It seems like every game that we've played exceptional defense in the first half. There hasn't even been a team yet that just came out and torched us in the first half, A&M included. We've been playing some great defense, not good defense. We've been playing some great defense, like some, best in the country defense in the first half. So just going with what you're saying, I agree. As we go into a tougher part of our schedule, go into conference play, obviously we have nickels, but, as we start going into conference play, we're definitely going to – the strength of this team, Keff, is our defense. It's not a secret. Everyone knows it. The strength of this football team is on the defensive side of the ball. It's where all of your seniors are. It's where all of your playmakers are. All of your conference players is on defense. So we have got to make sure that if we're going to carry this team defensively, we have to play 4 quarters of good football on the defensive side.
Absolutely. And, and this was the first game where I felt the team was strong all 4 quarters. We would see the first half they'd come out playing really well, and then they'd sputter in the second half. There wasn't a second half sputter this game. And that was huge for me. For me personally, watching this team and seeing how they're progressing, because that has been the main issue, is that stalling in the second half on both sides of the ball. The defense getting tired and the offense not able to move it down the field. Didn't see that in this second half. And I personally, I feel like I say this too much. I think the run game was huge for that. The fact that they committed to the run and ran it so much kept the defense off the field. It kept the pressure off the quarterback to not have to make all the decisions and possibly get a turnover. Really reduced Gresh Jensen's what he was trusted to do. It reduced that, and that's huge. The fact that I don't think they're not going to run it 50 times every game. It's still Jake Spavital and Bob Stitt. Like, they want to pass that. But I liked what I saw in that maybe a 50-50 split with the run pass. Maybe we'll see that going forward. But that really kept this team's momentum going in the second half. And hats off to the offensive line. I mean, we were busting them up last week. At least I was, for sure, for not getting the run blocking in, and they crushed it this week. They did a great job of run. I mean, it felt like every carry got positive yards. It wasn't like they were busting big 40-yard runs with every carry, but they were getting positive yards each time these running backs had the ball, and that's such a positive to me looking at that. And I mean, only 25 passes for Gresh, but that's maybe you want like 40 from him, but that's what you want. You want to reduce his chances to turn the ball over, and that's what they did. They simplified the game for him and everything. Even with it, Jensen is still. Where's the stat I had? Yeah, he's still third in yards in the Sun Belt with 868. I mean, he can get yards. So that's a good thing.
Sometimes you can't. Stats don't always tell the entire picture every time, because
they're definitely not there with the passing game for Texas State.
You look at our offense, and it's not going to be a surprise that our quarterback will be, leading in, passing yards, because that's all we do. I mean, we just pass the ball all day. Going back to talking about elaborating a little bit about our offense. I love the fact that we established a ground game this game. You know, we was able to have success on the ground. But I can't sit up here and act like I was just 100% pleased with the play calling. I was kind of, I wish we could have called a little better game than what we did. I still feel that we have to find ways to attack defenses down the field. The success that we were able to get on the ground game is not going to happen for other teams that we play with a better defense. I knew that we will be able to have success on offense because we was playing Georgia State and their defense just wasn't as good. They allow people to run all through them their rushing defense isn't good. Their passing defense isn't good. So it's not, I'm not yet ready to just give credit over to number one Jensen because again, we have not proven that we can have a quarterback that can stick in the pocket and deliver passes downfield so our receivers can make plays. We haven't had that. We didn't get that from this game. This game was it was a grind it out kind of game. Let's grind it out and get this W. So I don't know. I'm still waiting on Bob Stitt to kind of cement his play calling style of, man, we're going to go fucking score a lot of points. I haven't gotten that from this Bobcat team yet. I'm not writing them off by any means, but I'm just waiting to see what are we going to do offensively, because we cannot think that we're going to be able to go into, every game and just run the ball and score points that way. That's just not who we are.
Yeah, and I think, why you haven't seen a lot of that down the field threat is, unfortunately, it's Jensen's arm. I don't think he has a ton of strength. I mean, we saw it on that one pick at A&M where he just completely underthrew everybody and the corner just snatched it out of the air. And so I feel like you don't see the down the field play calls from Stitt. I kind of feel like they don't trust him to do those down the field play calls. It kind of seems like with this was, they went in there, they said it. They want to simplify it for Jensen and for the quarterbacks. And I'm hoping they didn't oversimplify it, and go a little too far with the run. But, it sounds like to me you wanted to see a little bit of Vitt. You were hoping they would have trusted the coin flip you had last week where it said Vitt was going to be the starter. I wanted to see him too, though. I get you.
Yeah, I mean – I'm trying to make sure I get my words right here because I'm not trying to bag on anybody, but this is what I believe happened on offense. Okay. I believe they had a game plan. I believe we went into this football game. We knew we was going to run the ball. We had more runs involved in the play calling for the play calls against Georgia State. I believe that as soon as we started running the ball, we still had a lot of different kind of pass plays in there, but we saw that they couldn't stop the run. So we were just like, what the heck? Why do this when they can't stop this? Just continue pounding them, through the ground, which is okay. But when I look back at what the offense was doing prior, I'm still seeing a lot of lateral throws. I'm not seeing anything that's getting the ball downfield. It's a lot of screens and bubble passes and, lateral. Everything with our offense right now is just lateral. And we get Kate out the ball. Like, that's wonderful. But, you're going to have a quarterback. If we want to win some games this year, you're going to have to find whatever you got to go get across the street. Whoever, you're going to have a quarterback that's going to be able to say, blue 42, red, said, collect the ball, stand in the pocket, go through progressions, read number one, read number two, be able to go through progressions. He has the time. He absolutely has the time. I've watched enough to know that he has time to set his feet and deliver some of the passes downfield somewhere. If it's not Jensen, we have to get a quarterback that's going to be able to do it. I hate to be the guy that is saying this after a win, but it's like we can't continue to rely on that. Like, we have to be able to attack defenses somewhere at some point down the field. And through these couple of games, we're going into game 5 now. I just haven't seen it, Kev.
And to your point, Hutch White leads the Sun Belt in receptions with 27, but he's 8th in yards with, what do I have here? 217 yards. So, I mean, that right there shows you a lot of those short passes. They're not going down the field. And I go back to my previous answer where I just don't think they have a lot of trust down the field in their options. I feel Vitt can do it a little bit better down the field throwing, can do it a little bit better than Jensen. But, you still worry about Vitt's turnovers and all of that. I'm still, and the fact that it was 25 passes. Let's see Jensen's numbers here. He was 16 for 25 for 129 yards and got a touchdown pass in there too. Oh, no, he didn't. No touchdowns, 1 sack. Just 16 for 25. I mean, they didn't want him to throw the ball a lot this game. They knew that was the issue. They came into the game saying quarterback's the issue, and obviously he was going to be on a short leash. If we saw a pick, they were going to pull him, and we'd probably see Vitt. But he didn't. He didn't turn the ball over. In his 25 passes, he held on to it, and he did what he had to do, which was not give the ball to Georgia State. Because one turnover from Jensen, and this game goes the other way. I mean, look at that final score. I mean, this game, and if you think back, third play of the game, Jerron Morris gets that interception. Great read by Jerron Morris, too. That's his second pick of the year. Such a great read. Back-to-back great reads on his picks. You see that interception on the third play of the game led to a field goal by Texas State. And this game finished in regulation tied. They don't get that field goal, this game goes the other way. So the fact that the Bobcats were plus in the turnover margin statistic, that went a long way for this game. And Jensen being just the game manager, he just had to be that. That's it, to win this game. But I'm with you. Going forward, is he the quarterback that's going to win you games? Is he the one that's going to upset Lafayette or any of these other really good teams in the Sun Belt? I really don't think so. He's going to make sure that the Bobcats don't lose the games they should win. But I don't know if he's the type of guy who's going to win the games that they shouldn't win. And that's the factor that they need.
Right.
That dynamic, dynamic factor.
Yeah, I agree. He's the type of quarterback that he's your game manager. But when game manager, and we talked about this earlier in a couple episodes back, but game managers sometimes are good. Sometimes they're good. They're good enough for you to get the job done. There's a lot of great game managers out there, but what makes game managers good? What do you think? Yeah, lack of turnovers. But what makes game managers good, man, is the people that surround them. That's what makes game managers good. It's when you have exceptional receivers. It's when you have unbelievable running backs. It's when your O-line is a beast. I mean, you can have a game managers now because all you doing a quarterback, you're saying hut, and then you're just giving the ball to whoever needs to give. You don't have to necessarily make plays. You can be able to deliver. You don't even have to make a spectacular play. Just throw the ball to the receiver somewhere down the field, give them the ball, let them make plays, even if you want to throw lateral, whatever. Unfortunately, we don't have the roster on offense to the point where we can have a quarterback that can be in there and just get away with trying not to lose the game. We don't have that. We don't have the roster to where we can have our signal caller playing to not lose. We're not there yet. If you're on Alabama very well can have a game manager. They don't need a spectacular quarterback at Alabama. Okay, when you're having teams like Texas State and teams like where we at right now, we cannot afford to not have somebody who's can't stay in there and make plays. So that is the only thing that kind of worries me. At the quarterback position, I'm still not sold on Jensen yet. I don't know if Vitt is the guy either. I'm not saying that he's the savior, but we can only see, man. Going into Nichols, I just truly and hope that we can use this Nichols game as a chance to really sharpen up our offense and seeing what these guys' limits really are. We're probably going to have time to let our quarterback actually stick in there, be a quarterback, deliver the footballs exactly where they need to be, and help your receivers be in a position to make plays. Hutch is going to catch the damn ball. Just get it to him. You know what I'm saying? K-Dot is another guy that's going to go out there and make plays. Just get him the football. Get him the football. He's going to catch it. He's going to make a play. Just give him the ball. And that's just what I want to see, man. So that's all I want to see, Keff. Get all playmakers the ball.
You want to see some playmakers. That's it. And that's why I low-key wanted to see Vitt get into the game against Georgia State. Obviously, the score and the way the game was going, you got to keep Jensen in there to keep the chemistry, keep the cohesion going. But there was a part of me that really wanted to see Vitt come out and play against the Sun Belt team, an FBS team, and see if, we saw him in the first half against A&M and wasn't great. 2 picks, 50 yards, got pulled 3 minutes before the first half ended. But I wanted to see what he could do against closer competition. And if he gets into the game against Nichols, that's an FCS team, and they're no cupcake. They're number 9 in the FCS standings and all of that. The Nichols is pretty good, but it still won't be the sample size that I really want to build confidence in seeing all these quarterbacks, because we haven't seen the playmaker. We've seen the game manager. We finally saw it this game. We hadn't seen the game manager the first 3 games, and we saw it this game. But I'm with you. This team needs more than a game manager if they want to get 6 wins into a bowl game. They have enough to get a few wins and improve on the win-loss record from last year, but they don't have that guy that's really going to take it over the top. Maybe that's Brady McBride. We keep hearing rumblings. He keeps throwing these great passes in practice, still working on that waiver deal, trying to get eligibility this season. But, it feels like that's really the player that they're excited about at that position is Brady McBride, but he's not in there. So you got to deal with Jensen or Vitt for now. And I'm not completely sold on Jensen either, and I don't know enough on seeing Vitt this season to say either way on him. So I'm with you there. That's the one position, because I know you say the personnel, you got to have the best players around to have a game manager be really successful, and I'm with you there. But there's enough speedsters and talent on this team between Twyford and Shareed and Hutch and even Micah Hiltz, and there's enough weapons here that if you have a guy who can make plays, they have players he has players he can give the ball to that can also make plays. I feel like they're not completely weak in that category, but I'm not sold on Jensen at all.
Yeah, I don't want to say that they're weak because I'm not trying to say that they're weak, but I mean we've identified who some of our playmakers are. I mean, like I said before, right now, me personally, I think you're looking at Twyford is solidifying himself as a playmaker in the backfield. Obviously, I like K-Dot as another playmaker for us. I like Hutch White as another playmaker. For those guys have kind of shown themselves as being a playmaker, but to sit there and say that we have playmakers all over the field, I don't know, man. I guess I have.
I wouldn't say all over. I would say.
Every good offenses would have a handful of guys. We're at around 2 or 3, but we just gotta. Bob Stitt, our offensive coordinator, his job is just to score points every time. I made this comment with the Texans. I'm not a fan of Bill O'Brien's play calling. I think he plays down to opponents. You look at the Jaguars, we only scored 13 points there. Then you look at the chart, he plays up and down to who we're playing. He gets conservative at times, and then sometimes he knows that he got to put his foot on the gas. I feel that Texas State, according to the quarterbacks we're playing, they're simplifying the offense a lot in a lot of things that we're doing offensively with the play calling. And we're trying not to coach ourselves out of winning a football game, which I understand. But there comes a time when, you're just going to have to start putting your foot on the gas a little bit and whoever's our guy, we're going to call these plays and you're going to have to go in there and execute. And I'm hoping that, this next opponent, I know this is supposed to be a Georgia State, but I'm hoping that Nicholls will be the game where we can say, okay, let's see what the hell we got. Let's see what we're capable of. Because, Keff, we normally get this game at the beginning of the season. We're 4 games in, and we still have not had a game to where we can let's see who the hell our people are. We have not had that game yet. We had A&M. We turned around and had a tough Wyoming game. We turned around and went down there to Dallas, played SMU, turned around and had to grit it out against Georgia State. We haven't had the game yet. And I think that, this Nicholls game is going to be a game where we can see which one of these quarterbacks is going to be a guy that can stand in there and execute this offense. And if we put the ball in our playmakers' hands, what they're going to do with it. Let them go ahead and go make plays.
I'm with you. They need to kick someone's ass. That's really what you're saying. They haven't had that. They haven't had that opponent that they go in and they just run through them. Just defensively, offensively dominate the game. And that's what this team needs. And that might be the good thing about the FCS opponent being the 5th game of the season. They're a little more seasoned. Literally, they've been playing quite a bit through the season. So I mean, they should be more prepared for this one to go in there and do some damage. They're a pretty good FCS team though. So I mean, we'll see. We'll jump into Nicholls more later on in the week. But yeah, that's really for me to be fully confident in this team. That's what I need to see. It's great that they got out and won that close game, a really gritty game that they were able to pull out. But I want to see them whoop somebody. That's how I'm going to get confidence. And if any team is primed for it on the schedule, it's this upcoming one, only because it's an FCS opponent. But they're pretty good, so it may not be they're not just going to roll over for the Bobcats and come in here. So,
I'm okay with them not having to beat the shit out of somebody. Like, I'm okay with that. But I just want a game to where we can see our offense just rolling. Even if we had beat a team 31-17 or something, I'm cool. I just want a game where we can get these boys rolling, get some momentum going, get some confidence for our offense guys, our quarterbacks, that they can deliver. We still do not have that confidence that we can deliver some throws, some touchdown throws down the middle of the field, down the sideline, just bombs. Have we even had one bomb this year yet? You know what I'm saying? I don't believe every touchdown pass we've had that I've seen has been literally us delivering the ball somewhere close, and then we just haven't had a bomb yet.
Tyler Vitt in the fourth quarter against SMU, he had that 40-yarder to Twyford. It was in garbage time. But that's the only one, and that was it was late, and that's why I get you forgetting that one. It was late in the game. It was when the game was way out of hand. But I mean, that was the only time because Vitt has the stronger arm. I feel like we don't see a lot of the deep throws with Jensen because they know he's pretty automatic from like 15, 10 yards and in. He's pretty solid arm. Doesn't get there real fast, but it's on target.
Dink and dunk.
Yeah, dink and dunk. It's been a lot of that with Stitt's play calling, and I think that goes back to just a personnel standpoint at the quarterback position with Jensen. Vitt can do that. Vitt can throw that ball at least better than Jensen. He's not great at it, but he's better than Jensen at throwing that ball down the field. And that was right on the money, over the shoulder, down the middle of the field to Twyford for 40 yards. I mean, Vitt was standing in SMU's logo, and that ball hit Twyford right before he hit the end zone. So, I mean, it's a pretty sweet throw. I'll send it to you later. You'll be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vitt can definitely spin it.
And it gets me excited about him when I see those type of plays. I really want him to get a shot. But what I also understand why Jensen played the whole game last week and why Jensen is more than likely going to start. That's unconfirmed. I haven't heard that. But more than likely, after playing well enough, he's still going to start against Nichols. But I understand why they go for that, but I'm still itching to see Vitt. Really want to see him get a shot. So maybe
I think I agree with you, man. I speak on the both of us when we say we're not sold on the quarterback, even though we got a win and he got a win under his belt. We're not yet sold on our quarterback right now. So it's still to be determined.
That's the one position where I'm like, man, I just don't know. Because even the O-line really showed me some things this week. It's really, there's not much below that starting unit. You've got Rivas who come in for Rowland. Rowland started at tackle, and he's a guy that factors into the lineup a little more. That's not a starter, but really the two deep in below for the offensive line, it needs more work.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to let's? We've been talking about this game forever. You want to switch? You want to switch over to some questions real quick, or do we want to save that for another pod?
Yeah, let's save it. Let's save it for another pod. That's what I'm thinking. Let's save it for another pod, and we get all the questions answered on one.
Yeah, we'll do that for y'all. We'll get the Ask Fifth Quarter questions in. So still go submit those in. If you're watching this and you haven't asked a question, ask this one. We'll get to it into another pod here coming up, because we're going to do one of those, and then we're going to do a preview of the game coming up this week against Nicholls State. But that'll do it for episode 9 of the Fifth Quarter podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram. Go find us on iTunes, Spotify. Please like, subscribe.
Everywhere. We are everywhere on every platform known to mankind.
He leaned in for it. Leaned into that microphone. Get a little closer. If I get too close, they'll start seeing my pores. It won't be great for the audience. I'm gonna stay this far back for it. But no, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Let's get it.